Hi, welcome to Prescribe This. I'm Danica Edelbrock. This is episode 2. Today we are going to be talking about the benefit of exercise on our immune system. So we will be reviewing an article written by David Neiman, who actually wrote most of my exercise physiology books in undergrad and graduate school. So he's been around a while and knows what he's doing. He's been a strong leader in our field in exercise and immunology. So I'm excited to share some of his work. And Laurel Wentz also authored this paper with him. And I will have the information in my show notes. So I encourage you to read a little bit more about immune function and exercise if it's interesting to you. I am doing this podcast to empower and hopefully share some knowledge with all of you in sort of a simple context that maybe you might find interesting and want to do a little bit more information searching yourself. So this article is entitled "The Compelling Link Between Physical Activity and the Body's Defense System." And it's a literature review. So they kind of go back to the early 1900s to review a lot of research that's been done over the last century in the field of exercise and immunology. And they break it down into acute exercise bouts, chronic exercise bouts, the effect on immune system as we get older, and exercise, and also nutrition and how that impacts immunology during and after exercise, and also those that exercise very intensely and that effect on the immune system. So we'll briefly go through each of those areas and sort of cover, why it's important and where they're seeing these changes in the body. It's so exciting now that our technology is so much more improved. We can actually see on a cellular level what is happening during exercise and what chemicals are being produced and what proteins are being used, and it's really exciting. So with more technology, we'll be able to learn more and more about what's happening and why we should exercise, not just do it, it's good for you. Now we really can see why and what's happening on a physiological level. So it's very exciting. So each acute level of exercise, so when we exercise, we get kind of an acute response where we see the body improves immune function, and it also improves inflammation markers. So, but that's really transient, while we're exercising and after. But the good thing is these acute exercise sessions cause a summation effect. So overall, we keep getting more and more benefit with our exercise. The more we exercise, the more frequent. So that summation effect on inflammation and immune function is pretty incredible. Now, our bodies have a natural, just a beautiful way of surveying. Our immune system surveillance system goes through the body. It's always looking for things that's not supposed to be there. So be it, cells that are damaged that, could become cancer cells, or cells that, viruses or bacteria, and our body is naturally fighting that. But if our immune system is weak because of stress, because of fatigue, because of even over exercising, if we're not eating properly, these can all weaken our immune system, and then we're more likely to get a chronic disease. So we need to be sure to keep our bodies as strong as possible so that our immune system can function in the most positive way. So moderate exercise and chronic moderate exercise has been shown to increase interleukin cytokine 6, and that is really just an anti-inflammatory protein in our body. So it's used to help decrease any inflammation in our body. And again, that inflammation is usually the culprit in many of our chronic diseases, in our heart diseases and our neurological diseases. So it's really important for improving glucose control as well, and improving our lipid metabolism. So with that, it's really exciting to see sort of these points of interest throughout the entire body and all the different systems within the adipose tissue, within the muscles as we exercise, and how those systems now really work to promote our immune function and promote the growth of our fighter white blood cells and such to keep our body at high alert, and constantly looking for that next thing that it wants to get rid of and send through our lymphatic system and then excrete out of our body. So there's so much evidence pointing to the overall inflammation response, the anti-inflammatory response of exercise, and so many different signaling pathways. And one example is the release of muscle myokines. And myokines are proteins that are produced by the muscle, and they can travel to the brain, and they have an impact on the brain and cause enhanced mood, enhanced learning, enhanced locomotion, and are crucial for controlling the growth and activity of our immune function and blood cells. And so that just leads to kind of another reason why we should be doing strength training and why we should keep our muscles strong. As we age, we tend to lose muscle. And it's very important that we keep that muscle tissue intact and strong because of all the impact that it has, not just on our brain and mood and locomotion, but also on our immune function and inflammatory response and anti-inflammatory response. So regular exercises also decreases dysfunctional adipose and improves adipose and fat metabolism. So it improves oxygenation and the ability for our body to create energy for movement. It also balances oxylipins, which are responsible for a decrease in inflammation and our immune response as well, and are very important to just keeping us healthy and our fat tissue really active and working for us and not dysfunctional. So exercise also has been proven time and time again to reduce the risk of chronic disease, and also, if we do have the chronic disease, to help us get rid of it. So the summation effect of regular exercise improves immune function and decreases inflammation with each exercise bout. Controlling for atherosclerosis, which is a hardening of the arteries and narrowing of the arteries. Can be sort of a systemic effect, and really exercise helps sort of reverse that. Cancer, obesity, type 2 diabetes, metabolic syndrome, movement disorders can be improved with neuroplasticity changes as well as the anti-inflammatory effect. So the list of benefits never ceases to amaze me with exercise. I'm always just blown away by the impact of what, if we give our body what it needs, what it can do for us. So it's important to remember that our bodies are really beautifully designed, and if there is something that's happening, it's telling us we need to make a change. So if we, get ill, we need to look at our lifestyle and figure out what changes we can make to maybe get more sleep, eat better, exercise frequently, daily. Our bodies don't naturally just attack ourselves. Like there's a trigger, an environmental trigger, a toxin, a virus, a bacteria, something is causing that effects. And our body has a really amazing way of taking care of it if we listen and treat the body and give it what it needs, what it's lacking, because it really will listen. It will tell you what it needs if we just listen. So make sure to move every day. Exercise and immune dysregulation. So as we age, things just, don't work quite as well, and things just get a little worn out. But the great thing is we can remodel our immune function as we get older. As we age, we are at more risk for infection and risk of disease. So it's very important that we even pay more attention to exercise and movement as we age, and eating properly and getting sleep. So really important. The older we get, the more attention we need to be spending on our body, which we probably realize that, already. So Significant changes have been seen in aged matched older adults, so sedentary versus active. The active older adults have far more NK or natural killer cells. They have a much higher count of the T lymphocytes, which are our white blood cells that go off and attack things when they need to. And they also have found an increase in the LTL, or the leukocyte telomere length. And that LTL is really, the longer the length, the more it's connected to life longevity. So we want those telomeres to be longer. And the telomere is really, so the leukocyte is really kind of our white blood cell, our immune function. Those are the little cells that go in there. And the telomere is the repetitive DNA sequence on the end of the chromosomes that help protect the chromosomes from fraying and from damage. And so each time the cell splits, those telomeres get a little bit smaller. So with exercise, it's shown to have more of a protective effect on those telomeres and that length. So another reason to exercise. We want our long LTLs, and this is just proven to be the case in active older adults, that this positive correlation with that telomere length and longevity and activity. So just another reason to exercise. So of course, with exercise, there's always, with everything, I love to look at life with a bell-shaped curve. Like there's a positive and little plateau at the top, and then there's sort of that inverse relationship where it can be, a little counterproductive. So there is such a thing as too much exercise, and this study looks at people that do chronic exercise, marathon runners, ultra marathon runners, and of course we're not all built the same. Some of us are built for long distance running, some of us aren't. Now our body will adapt, and if training is appropriate, then you can do it appropriately and run and do longer distance sports and activities without as much damage. But I'll never forget in graduate school looking at slides, different muscle slides, and looking at one from a marathon runner, and it literally, those cells were just torn apart. And I was like, oh, that can't be good. And it's really not that great immediately on the immune function. They show that like marathon runners and ultra marathon runners do have a higher increased risk of getting respiratory infections while they're heavily training if they're not getting appropriate nutrition, hydration, rest, and listening to their body. So, and training appropriately. So there's always, if you're doing this, then it might not be as bad. But that chronic high intensity exercise has been shown to can be a little detrimental to health. And we're talking like, there's ultra marathon races from the bottom of Death Valley to the top of Mount Whitney. And I had an instructor in graduate school who used to do those races, and he told me stories about, he saw people dying next to him. He'd see like they'd punch holes in their toenails to relieve pressure in their feet it was just crazy what they do to do these races. And it's clearly a psychological advantage at that point to be able to push yourself through that sort of pain. But I think, the research does show that really high intensity exercise, if it's not done right, can negatively impact the immune function. So I think that's important to know, that there's always a sweet spot, and everybody's very individualized. Some people are meant to do those types of activities and live a long, long life. And then others, don't survive as well, but maybe they love the challenge. So, there's something for everybody, but just so we know that the research is out there to show that too much of a good thing is possible with exercise too. So the key takeaway, exercise regularly. Exercise as we always want to adapt and increase our workload, but doing that less than 10% a week is safe. Listening to our bodies. If we don't feel good, we don't need to push through that, and just listen. Maybe we take a rest day. Just making sure we're up, moving as much as possible. The benefits of exercise and movement and on our immune function has been positively documented for the last century. And I'm sure our ancestors knew it way before that, and they just didn't study it, but they knew, and they just had a very active lifestyle anyway. So I hope this was a little informative and got you kind of excited about how important exercise is for our immune function, and a little bit about our immune system, and just having faith in your body that your body knows and will take care of you if you give it the tools that it needs. So they're very simple tools, but still, if it's not part of our habitual lifestyle, it is difficult to change eating patterns and exercise patterns and environmental, impact. So as much variety of foods as we can eat. The study goes in and talks a lot about phenol, about healthy food, of course, whole foods, fruits, vegetables, and how what a positive impact those polyphenols have on us. So the polyphenols are really, they're in foods like blackberries, blueberries, legumes. I mean, pretty much every whole food has polyphenols, which are anti-inflammatory foods. And so they really help with the immune function as well, and keeping inflammation down and healing post-exercise. So, of course, eating a variety of foods from a variety of sources. And I hope that you have a great rest of your day, and thank you so much for being here. Again, continue to research your body and learn as much as you can. It's very exciting what's going on in here. I think we should all just pay a little bit more attention to what our body's telling us. And I hope to see you again soon for episode 3. I'm not sure what that's going to bring, and no promises, but hopefully something really exciting for you. And I will see you soon. Thank you so much for joining me, Danica Edelbrock, and Prescribe This. Have a great day.